Hello, I am hopping on with a tutorial to show you how to construct the flip top box from Scrap Diva Designs. This box was released on January 8th and it has a ton of pieces in this die set, but the actual construction of the box is pretty simple. So I thought I would do just a little tutorial here so that you can see how to put it together, and so you won't be overwhelmed by all the pieces that are in there. The great thing about the die is it has all the layering pieces, so that's why there's so many pieces in the die set. But like I said, the actual basic box is pretty straightforward and simple to put together. Okay, so this is my prototype. I just did it once with some white cardstock to make sure it all fit together, and I knew what I was doing before I hopped on here. So we are going to get started. So what you want to do when you're going to make the box is you want to pull out these two pieces. They are the only two pieces in the die set that don't have any stitching on them. So there's no faux stitching on these two pieces, and these are the two that you need to create the box. Everything else is a layering piece. Okay, so that just goes to show you how simple this is. Okay, you're going to cut each one of those out one time, and you're going to end up with 3 pieces. There are only 2 dies, but you get 3 pieces because this piece right here, this die, cuts the paper into two parts, okay? So you'll see that you've got these pieces here, and they have all of these scored lines. So what you want to do is fold your paper on the scored lines, okay? Now you can cut this out of anything you want to. If you want to use pattern paper, you absolutely can, but just know that if it's not super thick pattern paper, then that's going to, affect how sturdy your box is. I am using poster board. I like to cut up poster board and use it as super thick cardstock, so that's what I am using. If I wasn't using poster board, I would probably use 110-pound cardstock as my base. And then for the layering parts, that's when I would use my pattern paper, okay? So I'm basically just gently folding on the scored lines in all the places to just make sure that everything is going to move really easily. If you happen to score it the wrong way, don't worry, you can always flip it the correct way that it needs to go. So that's a pretty easy fix. Okay, so right now I'm just scoring and folding on all of the lines here so that I will be ready to construct this box once we're good to go. Okay, and then you can see here, this piece, I actually think this one folds back like that. And I'm going to just kind of get this going so that this is pretty easy to work with. To put this together, I'm going to use Barely Arts liquid glue. That's my favorite glue to use. And it does take a minute to dry though, so if you are impatient, you could probably also use hot glue, whatever you're most comfortable with. Okay, so I've got all 3 pieces that are kind of folded here, and now I'm ready to construct the box. So let me move that out of the way and we'll get going. Okay, to get started, I'm going to take this piece right here, and this is the front of my box, and this is the bottom of the box, and I'm going to lay it down so that it's sideways and so that this panel is facing, to the side. Then I'm going to take this piece here, and this is the long piece, and it's sort of the long skinny piece. This is the back of the box, and I'm going to take this so that this bottom right here is facing towards this bottom. Now this is the bottom, this part right here where you have this little tiny fold, that's the top of the box. So we want this down here to be facing this way, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these 2 flaps together. Now one of them is bigger than the other. This front piece is bigger than this piece. So I'm going to glue this big piece on top of the smaller piece. So I'm going to put some glue down here. And a decent amount, but not too much. I don't want it, oozing out of the sides. Okay, and then I'm going to lay this piece on top, and I'm going to be careful to match it up so that it meets at that crease or that score line where we folded it. Okay, and I also want to make sure that it has lined up perfectly on the sides as well. I don't want any of that hanging over, okay? And I'm going to give that just a couple of seconds to dry. It's not going to dry all the way, but it should kind of adhere to the paper so that we can kind of move it freely. Okay, so after waiting a couple of seconds, I'm going to pick this box up and I'm going to kind of play with it a little bit so that I can see how it goes together. So I'm going to take these two little, I guess, flaps here at the bottom of the front of the box. Remember, this is the front. And they are going to curve in here and be adhered to the bottom of the back of the box, right? So I'm going to glue them down right here. And then the back is going to come up and we're going to glue the sides to the back. Okay, so that we're going to end up with something like this. This is going to form our main part of our box. Okay, so again, I'm taking this is what I had, and I'm going to put glue right here on the bottom of this flap. Just like that. And I'm going to put glue on the bottom of this flap. And I'm going to push them in, and I'm going to lift this up and make sure that I line this up and glue these down. And again, I'm going to just hold it for a couple of seconds to let the glue kind of attach and adhere as best it can. And since I'm working with wet glue, it's a little bit tricky until you get it to really grip on. But a couple of seconds and it will start to get a good hold, and then you can kind of move it around. I really like wet glue because it has a super tight hold once it's dry, and you can kind of move it around a little bit if you need to while it's drying. So if you don't get it in the exact right spot, it's not the end of the world. You can still, you know, move it around and fix it. Okay, so that's kind of what we're left with here. All right, now this back part, we have these skinny flaps here on each side, and we're going to put glue on both of those. So I'm going to get my glue going, and I'm going to run some glue on that one, and I'm going to run some glue over here on this one. Okay, and put a little bit more glue down here because that's not holding as tightly as I want it to. Okay, now I'm going to sort of push these in and tuck them into the box to get them to adhere to the sides. This is a little bit tricky because I've got glue on the flaps, and I'm also trying to push the flaps in at the same time. If you're using pattern paper, this will be a little bit easier because the paper won't fight you the way that this thick poster board is. But you can always just, you know, if you need to touch the glue, if it gets a little messy, don't worry. You can always use an adhesive eraser to erase any adhesive that dries in places you don't want it. The adhesive eraser I have, I got at Dollar Tree. It works great. But if you can't find one at Dollar Tree, I know you can order them like on Amazon or other craft stores. And so I'm going to just let this adhere. Make sure that the seal is really good on the inside there. And again, I'm going to take just a few seconds to let it dry before I start doing anything else with the box. Okay, so I've got a little extra glue here, so I'm just going to use my little adhesive eraser and rub it over that area, and it should take that glue off. Don't rub it too hard. It will pull up some of your cardstock. You don't want that. But just lightly rub it over that glue back and forth, and it will take it off. No problem. Okay, so now our box is starting to take shape. The top up here, it has that little indentation, and what you want to do is kind of a Z fold so that it looks like this. So if you didn't fold it correctly the first time, no worries, you can always correct it now. Okay, now we're going to take our other piece that was cut out, and this is going to adhere to this right here. Okay, so this is the top flap of the box, and then this is the back part of this lid, and so we're going to adhere this to the top of this, and we're going to just put some glue and glue those two pieces down. So you can do this however's easiest for you. I'm thinking it's probably going to be easiest if I do it like this. So again, I'm going to put some glue on here, and then I'm going to take my lid and line it up right there to the edge of the score line, and I'm going to make it fit. And actually, you guys, I did this wrong. See, this is why this video is good, right? I'm not even going to edit this out because I want you to see. This part needs to go on top because it's bigger. This is a smaller piece and this is the bigger piece. And if you want it to look right, it's going to have to go like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it correctly. And then once this glue is dry, I will use my adhesive eraser to erase all that glue off of there. So not to worry, it won't be the end of the world. Okay, so instead of putting the glue on here, I'm putting it on here. So see, we'll work it out. A lot of this is going to get covered up with layering pieces anyway, so it's probably not really going to matter. Okay, and so we're going to line this up so that it matches the score line. And it's going to be really messy for me because I have all this extra glue, but it shouldn't be too bad for you. Okay, so we're going to push that down and let that dry. And like I said, as soon as it does dry, then I'm going to come in with my eraser and erase all of this extra glue off of here. And then, like I said, I'm going to end up putting a layering piece on top anyway, so it's going to cover all of that up. Okay. So, not to worry. All right, so now we have a box that looks like this. It's looking a little crazy. We're going to take these two flaps and we're going to glue them down here to the inside because our box is going to close like this. Okay, so we're going to take these two flaps right here, these two big ones, and we're going to put glue on them right here. Just like this. And we're going to put glue on the other side, just like this. And then we're going to fold them in and glue them down to the lid. And again, we're just going to make sure that it's lined up and take a couple of seconds to hold it in place so that it can grip onto the paper and get a strong hold. So I'm going to just hold that down for a few seconds. Okay. And then you should have something like this. Now we have these two little tiny pieces left out, and those are going to get glued down as well. Okay, so this is what our box looks like, and we have these little pieces that need to be glued in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this lid back. I'm going to push these in. Okay, and then I'm going to put glue on the outsides of them. Okay, just like that, and over here on this side as well. And then I'm going to glue them inside the lid. So I'm going to have to close the lid just a little bit, and I'm going to push this down and line this up. Can y'all see? So that it glues right there on the crease. And then again, I'm going to hold that down for just a couple of seconds and let it get a good grip on that before I move over to the other side and push that one down and do the exact same thing and kind of close the lid a little bit and, you know, put your finger in there and really hold it down tight. Okay. You just want to make sure that that has a good grip, and then let that dry all the way before you start messing with it. Okay, so the box is looking pretty good right now, but you can see the lid doesn't close on its own. It doesn't want to stay shut. So we need one more piece to sort of finish this box off and make it stay closed. So that is this piece right here. And this piece fits down inside of the front of the box. So do you see this piece right here? This part right here is made with this piece. So you can do the exact same color. So you could do red here, since I did the red cardstock, or you could do a pattern paper here if you have some decently thick pattern paper. I think that would work fine. You could do a different color of cardstock here. You could do glitter paper, whatever you want, okay? But basically, this is what the box, it's going to make it snug and make the lid stay closed. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out. I'm going to try it with some pattern paper, and let's see how it works. Okay, so I ran it through my die cut machine, and I used some pattern paper from the La La Love collection. And this is what I am left with. And there are some score lines on either side of these stitching lines. So I'm just going to fold my paper on those score lines. Careful to get it right on the score line, because sometimes it wants to fold on the stitching line. So just be careful. You go slowly, it usually works okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm kind of starting in the middle and then working my way to the edges. Again, I find that that works best. And once I get it folded, then it should look like this. Okay, now this is the side that's going to face out. This is the side that's going to face in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this in here. I'm going to put this inside the box just like that, and then I'm going to glue it. So I'm putting glue down here on this part and then this part on the sides. So because I want this to be adhered to the inside of the box. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to kind of eyeball it, and then because I have this precision tip, I can go back and add more glue as needed around the edges. So for right now, I'm just going to put it about, I guess, halfway down, because I don't want too much glue. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to gently tuck this into my box. Okay, and I'm going to just slide it in like that. And you can see I could have put it a lot higher. So what I'm going to do is, before the glue dries, I'm just going to stick my glue in there and kind of run some more glue around there and also here on the sides. If you are a measurement person, that's not me, obviously, but if you are, you could totally put this in here and then draw some little pencil marks so that you would know exactly where this is going to line up, and then you could put your glue in, you know, below the pencil marks. I am more of a let's just wing it kind of person, so I'm perfectly fine with just sort of putting some glue in there and making it work. So that is totally up to you. Kind of looks like a French fry container right now because of the colors I got going on here. Okay, now so this piece right here should make this box stay closed a little bit better. It does. It will stay closed more, I think, if you actually use cardstock. So because I use pattern paper, mine is not quite as snug, but that's okay, because I think I'm going to put one of those little what is it called? The little eyelets that you put here, and then you put the string to close it. So it's not a big deal on my box, but just know if you use the pattern paper, yours may not close super snug, but if you use the cardstock, it should close pretty well. So it just depends. I think the thicker the paper, the better it closes. So yeah. But yeah, super cute, right? Okay. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all the layering pieces and add those to the outside. So now all the dies that we haven't used yet, all the ones with stitching on them, those are all the layering pieces. So what I'm going to do now is pick out some pattern papers of what I want the outside to look like, and I'm going to start die cutting all of those stitched pieces. Okay, one thing I want to mention is when you're die cutting your pattern papers, make sure that you kind of line it up with the box, the dies, so that if you have directional paper, you don't cut it in the wrong direction. So this particular die here, this is the one that goes on the back of the box. So if you are cutting your pattern papers, then you want to make sure that you're cutting it long ways, because there's a score line up here so that the paper can be bent, because you can see when the box opens, it's going to bend the paper. So make sure that you're just paying attention to stuff like that. This piece I'm actually going to glue to the inside of my box, but it's too tall, as you can see, so I'm going to just trim it a little bit because I want the inside to be layered. And you can see, since I use my pattern paper, I already have that cherry paper on the inside. So I'm going to glue a piece of this in here, and I'm just going to trim this paper down a little bit so that it fits in there nicely. Okay, so I'm going to put this inside. I wanted the stitching, the faux stitching on top to show. So what I did was I just trimmed across the bottom. I did trim the stitching off down here, but because it's so deep in the box, you're not going to be able to tell. Nobody's going to, you know, look super close down there with a flashlight to make sure that they're stitching at the bottom. So that is a little tip for you if you are wanting to line the inside of your box. So I just put some glue on there, and now I'm going to tuck this in and glue that down. And I think that just looks really nice on the inside of the box, that it's all has that cherry pattern all the way around. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to die cut all my layering pieces for the outside. Okay, so I've got some patterns chosen, and I've started layering them up, and you could totally stop here. If you just wanted to put this here and on the back, this is cute as it is already. I am going to use all the layering pieces to cover mine because I love to use all the pattern papers. And also remember, I have that mistake up here that I need to fix and cover. So because there are so many layering pieces, what I recommend is that you take the die that you're planning to use and actually hold it up to the box to see where it goes, okay? Because this die looks like it could go here, but it's too big actually. It's just a little bit too big for the front. There's actually a different die that goes here. So before you start cutting and gluing, make sure that you've lined the die up with where it goes so that you're putting the dies in the correct places and cutting the correct paper so that you don't have a bunch of, you know, cut pieces of paper that are the wrong size. So I'm going to now cut all the papers and layer them around here. There are dies for seriously every single aspect of this box. There's one here. There are little pieces that cut this, which is just great. I love, love, love that because that means that I don't have to try to cut a piece of paper to layer it myself, and then it's not perfect, and you know, it doesn't have the stitching and all of that. So you could also, again, I do want to mention, if you're planning to stitch your papers with a sewing machine, this is where you would want to stitch them first before you glue them onto your box. I've decided not to machine stitch this box. I'm just going to glue these papers down, and then we'll go from there. Okay, you guys, this is my finished box. Look how stinking cute it is. I did go ahead and line the whole thing inside. I just think it looks really finished that way. And I, you know, put my layered pieces on. And then I did put one of those, I don't even know what these are called, but you like wrap the string around like this to keep it closed. I had some of these in my stash. I do know that you can make them though if you just use some little circles and eyelets. You can punch an eyelet through one of these little paper circles and then put some foam behind it and some string. And I've seen videos where people have made them. I don't know what they're called. So if anybody knows, maybe like a policy envelope closure, right? Isn't that what that is? Something like that maybe. So I don't know. If I can find a tutorial on YouTube, I'll link it below so you guys can add one if you want. But yeah, I think it's so stinking cute. And then you can embellish however you like. I'm not going to film myself doing that because this video is already super duper long. So, but I will post a picture on this video of the finished product. It'll be like the cover photo. And then, of course, on my Instagram, I'll post photos there as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. You can use coupon code Larissa10 at Scrap Diva Designs. And this die was sent to me for free as part of the design team. And yeah, I think that's all the things. So I will talk to you guys later. All right, bye.